Welcome to Vision India 25 Amrit Mahotsav series. Today we are discussing a very important topic, juveniles, India's juveniles. So increasingly over the last so many years, we've had very sad incidents which are a blemish on the entire Indian democracy, society, country, and our cultural heritage, especially with respect to the kind of crimes that have been committed by the juveniles of this country. Kids below the age of 18, the adult age, they have a separate way, they had a separate way of being dealt with by the law when it came to crimes committed by them as normal crimes, serious crimes, or heinous crimes. We have some amendments which have had effect since the Nirbhaya issue in 2012. And thereafter, after the Delhi rape, gang rape case, the many amendments came into effect. One of the important one was brought about by the Menka Gandhi Ministry of Women and Child Development, wherein there were changes in the system of classification of juveniles also from 18 to 16 to 18 for being considered as adults in case of heinous crimes. We have two very important. Then we had the amendments in 2021 of the Juvenile Justice Amendment Act 2021. We have the authority on the subject, former Chief Justice of India, Sir Justice K.G. Balakrishnan, one of the we are fortunate him as a supporter and patron to the forum's initiative of Amrit Mahotsav. And also we've been joined by a very important lady. I mean, she's a lady. She is an authority on subjects of child. She was chairman of National Commission of Protection for Child Rights. She was Secretary of Disability Affairs. She has an experience of the WCT ministry. She also has an experience of Disability Affairs ministries. She has worked as the chairperson of the NCPCR. She's a lady and she knows the subject as well. So we have the legal doyen with us, K.G. Balakrishnan. We have the bureaucratic expert with us, Madam Suti Kakkar. Many people have been invited, a very controversial subject. Even the current Minister of State, Mr. Mahendra Munjipara, has been invited. Let us see, but we will start the show immediately without any delay, because Justice Saab was also chairman of the NHRC, National Human Rights Commission. So I think we can have a complete 360-degree appraisal of the entire juvenile system in this country and the way forward. Very important, especially considering the kind of effect that social media is having on the society. With social media, the way that people think the kids are being brought up, things have changed. And we are in a very serious danger zone, especially as a hugely populated country and a country which is just evolving. So I leave it over to you. Probably the opening remarks from Madam Suti Kakkar. Madam, Juveniles, India's Juveniles, over to you.
Amit, thank you very much for inviting me and for holding this webinar on juveniles. And juveniles normally are, children below the age of 18, but called juveniles when they become children in conflict with law, as the Act, JJ Act defines them. Now, crimes committed by children do often make the headlines, especially when they are heinous crimes. Like you quoted, right? This Nirbhaya person was one of the children who was involved in this gang of people who gang raped this girl, Nirbhaya. Now, I would just like to place some facts before us, because child protection was my mandate when I was chairperson NCPCR. And I am sorry to say that we are not really thinking about protecting children from violence. And violence, whether in their homes, violence in the community, or violence in the society. And we are not realizing that the effects of these violence. Now, when a crime is committed, we think about, the crime is there, the victim is there, and the person who has perpetrated the crime, we think about that person. But one must remember that no criminal is born adult. They're all born as children. Now, why does a child take to crime? This is something that we must explore, and we must nip the problem in the bud as soon as it happens. Now, every year, NCRP records say that about 1 to 1.5 lakh children are caught committing crime. There's a whole range of crimes, from minor petty crimes to major crimes, heinous crimes, serious crimes. You can, crime is, and children who do these petty crimes, they are often let off at the thana level or the police station, because they are generally small children, and they are reprimanded and they counseled, and the SHO tells them to keep to the straight and narrow, and they're sent home. Some of them, where they are committing heinous crimes, then you proceed according to the JJ Act of 2016, which you mentioned, that replaced the old JJ Act during the time when Maneka Gandhi ji was minister. But my problem is, once the seeds of crime have been sown, for whatever reason, they remain in the mind, and they become, a seed. It falls on fertile ground. A child's mind is an evolving mind, and it will certainly become a full tree. But we must understand what are the factors that push children into crime. NCRB data, if you analyze it, I'm going to take just 5 minutes of your time, because we are discussing this very important aspect of child protecting children and ensuring that the society is safe and we prevent children into getting into crime. That generally these children are barely literate. Generally they are illiterate. They come from poor, economically backward families. Most of them have dysfunctional, abusive backgrounds. Here, I would like to say one thing. I mean, children who are getting caught are generally vulnerable children. Children from better off families generally don't get caught because they have more protective systems and they are able to play the system. Now, another thing which is very important to note is that they are generally between in the adolescent age. Between 14 to 18 years, say 12 to 18 years, we don't really have a strict definition of adolescence, and mostly boys. And a large number of them are charged with crime against women. 7 to 8% of these crimes are against women, molestation, maybe sexual abuse of younger children, and that all those reasons. Now, if you look at the age of these children, you must understand their adolescence. The mind is not fully grown. Their hormones are raging physically and mentally. They are in a, all adolescents have problems, whether they're criminals or not, or whether into crime or not. I wouldn't call them criminals as yet, but whether they have been exposed to crime or not. And it is at this age that they become deeply influenced by media. Today a smartphone is available to every person, to every individual. It is a common sight in India. You find these boys in tight jeans, tight shirts with 2 earplugs. I would like to say porn or something like that. It excites the mind of the adolescent, and they generally go and, abuse smaller children, molest women, or whatever. It is very titillating, I mean, in a way. Another thing which we don't realize, because we have no policy to prevent to protect children from violence is, or I mean, we do have policies. I wouldn't say there are no policies. I mean, everything is contained in the act and there is a national policy and everything, but it's, you know, there has to be a consciousness about it. Protect children from violence, don't expose them to violence is the best way of ensuring that children do not get into crime. Now, most families, you have so much of domestic violence. One thing during this COVID period, the cases of domestic violence skyrocketed because all families were contained in the house. Cases of child sexual abuse increased because the abuser and the victim were locked in the same house and environment. Now, what parents, especially fathers, are not realizing that this violence, even if the child is in the womb, the child can hear, you know, it becomes intergenerational. The child will copy the father and they will repeat the same thing when they grow up and they get married, or this exposure to violence at a young age, the child copies. Children learn by example, we all know that. And they repeat this behavior with the classmates, smaller boys, girls, and whomsoever they meet. Mothers, you know, we all know this. This is a very familiar story. Then what about those children that are born where the father is in and out of prison? For them, crime is a way of life. They will not be able to distinguish what is right and what is wrong because they have grown up with it. And the worst thing that we can do to children is when these children are caught, they are put in prisons. I mean, child prisons as they are called, you know, even though we have other names for it under the act, but commonly called child prisons. What happens is they are put with adults. Now they learn from them or they learn from the older boys who are there. You know, there's a mixing of children. I have seen them, children in need of care and protection being put with children in conflict with law, and they learn all bad things for them, so that when they come out of the prison, already their ideas have fully formed about how to do a crime and get away with it. So this is what is happening. The Honorable Delhi High Court had made a committee that to go and see in Tihar jail, you know, and we used to send a committee time and again, and we were able to rescue a lot of children from Tihar jail, but it shouldn't have happened in the first place. Our stakeholders, our people who are implementing the law, should be sensitized that we need to protect these children. Somewhere at some level, these are children also in need of care and protection. You know, these two types of children, those in need of care and protection and those who are in conflict with law, are actually two faces of the same coin. Often a child in need of care and protection, because if a child is a victim of sexual abuse within the family, then, or sexual abuse outside the family, and the family is not doing anything about it. Unfortunately, in cases of the male issue or the male boy, it is considered a rite of passage. It is not a rite of passage. It is something that goes against the self-esteem of a child. And when the child has been abused, the child suffers it in pain. The child feels anger against the parents for not being able to protect the child. And later on, when the child is an adult, then the child says, we'll take revenge, you know. Then it is in a position to take revenge. And this is what actually happened in the Nirbhaya case. The child, again, was an abused child. So I'm not holding that thing for a torch for any child who has committed a heinous crime, but look into the issues of the child. What has been happening to our children? How do we prevent more children getting into the same position? And what happens when you find these children on the streets? You see them everywhere. they are called children in street situations, who have made the street their home, are often children who have run away from home. The home atmosphere was so toxic, the child couldn't bear it, and they have come onto the streets. अब सड़क पे जब आएंगे, they are at the mercy of the elements. पेट की भूख है, they have other needs, they have medical issues, they have so many issues, they are prey to gangs, they are prey to a lot of traffickers and all that children. Now the child in care of protection now becomes a child in conflict with law, क्योंकि petty crimes करेंगे, पहले ठेले वालों से वो लेंगे, चोरी करेंगे, ये करेंगे, and to that thing they feed their hunger, and if they fall ill, then they also need medical care and all, which is not coming. Often they get into drugs because we know of cases where they took to drugs because भूख लग रही है, खाने को नहीं है, what to do? So drugs मिल गया, then drug eating becomes a habit, and then they become more and more in debt to the gangs and other people who are on the lookout for such vulnerable children and who use them for crime, because the JJ Act provides protection to them, not to the adult criminals. So the adult criminals use these younger children, and remember that they are very influenceable. They also need a godfather. They also need to feel safe. They also need somebody to take care of them. And therefore they get picked up both by police, by gangs, and it is a ratchet they can never come out of. So this is something, again, we have to keep in mind that whenever we see something happening in homes which is not correct, we have to step in as concerned citizens. We have to tell people, generate awareness. This is the effect of bad adult behavior on your child. If a husband is beating his wife, somebody has to tell her, whether it is a village elder or a community elder or a family elder. People should not say, "Ye Mia Bibi ka mamla," and therefore we will not interfere. It is wrong. If you see an alcoholic abusing the child, somebody has to stop it, because otherwise this child will get scarred for life. Another important factor is that boys, ये जो child marriage की problem होती है, on girls तो अपनी जगह it is well documented, it is a wrong thing, but on boys we are forgetting that a child marriage places adult responsibilities on a boy child, and it is this adult responsibility which is depriving the child of a happy childhood, is what makes them get into ways and means of earning money which may not be very legal, and crime certainly pays, especially if you किसी की chain snatch कर लो, किसी का purse snatch कर लो, you will get much more than if you do a day's work. In any case, child labor is prohibited. So I would just like to, I've taken a lot more time I would than I thought I would, but this is an opportunity about talking about children in conflict with law. The reasons why children get into, I've just named a few of them. Main thing is dysfunctionality and the violence that children face in childhood, which is again, coming out later in adulthood. It is scarring them, it is creating problems for them. Child sexual abuse has grown so much within families and outside. Then other dysfunctionalities. I met this very small street boy. I asked him, तुम बेटा घर छोड़ के क्यों भागे? कहता है कि मैं क्या करूं, मेरे बाप ने 3 शादियां करी और तीनों मुझे पीटती थी, उससे अच्छा तो सड़क पे रहना है, मैं कम से कम रोज मेरी पिटाई नहीं होती है और मैं अपना खा कमा रहा हूँ, and I'm happy. So the toxic atmospheres within families is what is creating dysfunctionalities within families. somewhere we have to work on these issues. Somewhere we have to do some serious thought, because calling them juveniles, blaming them for something, the whole ethos of the JJ Act was that these children, they are still children, less than 18 years of age. And whatever crime they may do, they are retrievable. And after all, they are our children. They are citizens of our country. What is the sense in, I would say, incubating a child into and allowing him to become a complete sort of criminal, adult criminal, just waiting for him to get 18 and then lock him up? We are losing out on talent. We are losing out on so many things. And after all, the children are our future. We need to look after them better. Thank you so much, Amit, for giving me this opportunity.
Ma'am, thank you so much for detailed discourse on the rights and the process in which the society should take care of their children, especially a society as plural as India, as diverse, multicultural, territorially spread thousands of kilometers, and with a population which is into crores, unlike European nations or the developed countries. We have Justice KG Balakrishnan ji, the former Chief Justice of Honorable former Chief Justice of India, the authority of law of the country. He was the Chief Justice during 2007 and 10 and the Chairman of the National Human Rights Commission during the Nirbhaya Kand, if I remember correctly. Justice, I leave it to you now. The entire world would like to listen to you. The government has to also take note of each and every word that you speak today, because this is something which is going to drive, huge calamities to be, probably prohibited in the years to come. And when we reach 100th year, this particular show will have some relevance for sure, because here is the Chief Justice of India speaking on juveniles. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, the participants. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Amit has selected a very good subject. The juvenile justice is a very important and vital subject, because it's really a serious problem in this country. So many juveniles are prone to commit crimes, very serious crimes. How to deal with them? That is various societal problems. As Madam has pointed out, the family's situation, the accessibility to the digital forms, the iPad, computer, and mobile phone, these digital devices. Then for the last 2 years, the schools were not opening. The schools were not functioning, and they did not have the open. So that is one aspect of how recently the crime rate of the children have gone. And in some states, and I don't want to name any particular state, the drug menace has increased so much, and the children are being used as they transport these drugs, and they are also prone to use it. And once they are addicted to the drugs, their life is miserable. So they not only they are addicted, they are prone to commit crimes. Then there are other people who make use of the children for all vulnerable, all types of crimes. This is a very serious problem which is being faced. We have to be very, very carefully deal with it. In how to deal with these problems, we have passed the Juvenile Justice Act, the almost on par with the UN the Act, UN conventions, which we have adopted. Then how to deal with these crimes. Then how to make inquiries. And as Madam has pointed out, once these children are in the committed crime and convicted, they are admitted to the ordinary jails, and they are they come in contact with the senior, the crime or the senior persons who committed crimes. So then there is also a problem of the 16 to 18 that in fact we in NHRC also was a party to the discussion when this act was adopted. We in fact pleaded that it is better to be confined to 16 because 16 to 18, that period is very crucial. They are prone to commit all sorts of fantasies and all. And once they are they are put in the jail as taken as ordinary criminals. They will always be sent. The society will once and for all they will lose to the society. So the one thing is important is that these cases should be investigated by not by ordinary police force. The act itself says that the juvenile and justice cases should be sort of welfare officers, welfare policemen should investigate the cases and conduct it. And how to prevent them from committing preventing them from such crimes. So they are mostly all types of crimes are committed. Mostly sexual crimes are they commit. Then the crimes related to these drugs, they are all the major. Then the children are also being abused by a group of people who are they make them commit and participate in the crimes. After the Paya incident, we have amended the laws. The 354 was amended. 354, the 354 A, B, C, D was amended. The penal code was amended. That the three more similar offences. Ordinary, the 354 alone was in the statute book, and 50 the further the changes were also made, and the rape 375 also extensively the 375 defined, and they also made a further amendment to the criminal procedure code also, because once the women make a complaint relating to, and then the statement should be recorded. Their 164 statement should be recorded, and it should be videographed. All these amendments are made. And if an offense is reported to the police and the police is not registered the case, that itself is made an offense under the Indian Penal Code. If there is any proper no investigation is not there, then that is also made an offense. And the victim, some girls are these victims of the sexual abuse, then their names shall not be divulged. That is also amendment has been 228 Penal Code amendment has been made. So various statutory amendments have been made, but I must also say these are they really beneficial to the young generations of this country? But sometimes they are being misused. At least some people misuse that they are sexually, they make a false complaint alleging that they were sexually abused by some people, and the case is registered. The police has no option but to register the case, and the inquiry is sometimes so to false cases are also coming up. So the conviction rate is low in the as regards these sort of then a large number of children are extradition. They are they are taken into custody for the sexual abuse and for hard labor, working them as slaves, make use of them as slaves. So all these are also, we also amended this Indian Penal Code on the basis of the UN enactment, UN convention. These type of cases also is a large number in various courts. But this pandemic situation with the last 2 years, the criminal courts are not effectively functioning. I am afraid how much time it will take to proper investigation, proper trial of these cases, and how long, if they are not being granted bail, how long they will continue in the juvenile justice this board, under the custody of the juvenile justice board. That is also a serious thing. And there also some problems are some of the states. The welfare boards are also not effectively functioning. They don't have proper building. They don't have good officers. Their interests are not taken care of. This is one of the areas where the state should have special care. I feel that some important minister should take charge of these subjects and look into the problems which we are facing. This is a major problem in this country. We cannot leave this situation. So law is there, proper law is there. Once the law, they make a strict punishment. They think that once the strict punishment is prescribed, that is enough. But that is not enough. How the POSCO also, I got a difference of opinion in some of the provisions with the POSCO Act also, how they are functioning, and sometimes they are also false allegations are there, that the court should be extremely careful in avoid this to find out the wheat from the chaff, whether any allegations is true or not, and the witnesses are telling the truth or not. These are all to be a very experienced criminal judges alone can understand these problems. So the juvenile justice is a major problem, and that is also large number of children are going out of the custody of the children, parents. They are also being abused, and they land in cities and resort to various crimes. That is also a major problem to be dealt with by the authorities. Then the various facets for these problems. It's not isolated to one incident, one crime committed on the Indian. It's not the whole problem is to be viewed seriously, and there is very serious remedy is to be prescribed, and the various the NHRC, the Children's Commissions, the Juvenile Justice Act, the Implementation Board, and all their member, there should be member should be appointed in time. They should deal with the cases which with a pragmatic view, with a sense of dedication to how this problem can be solved. And it is also to be noticed that the large number of children are also abducted by some people for making use of them as the slaves for slavery and the begging purpose. These are also problems affecting the children. When we deal with the problems, all these come into focus. And Juvenile Justice Act, I don't think that we can discuss the whole subject within a short time, but nevertheless, it is time that the authorities should have deep concern over these subjects. Thank you, Mr. Amit Goenka. So the other speakers also will have the.
Sir, Justice, right till now, we've spent around almost 38 minutes discussing about the problems and the reasons of juvenile crimes. It's a long process in the country like India, 75 years, the entire socio-economic structure has to be really turned upside down for things that we, are almost talking in a fantasy world about everything being picture perfect as far as upbringing of children is concerned, right from the streets up to the 7-star villas. Now, the question here is, first of all, how do we create deterrence? Is creation of deterrence also important or not? And if it is, what is the process at the school level, at the society level? Madam probably could also tell us, but Justice Saab, you were the chairman of the NHRC during the Nirbhaya Kand. Deterrence is very important. A kid has to know if he does something wrong, he will face it, according to me. So do you think that part of the discussion also we should really throw some light upon by the two most important people we have today?
The extreme deterrence will not be good. It will not, because you must basically know you are dealing with the children. It is not a matured mind. So they, of course, dealing with this sort of things, as a general, we have to be, the deterrent effect should be there. But the dealing with the children should not be so deterrent. So it should be soft, and they must understand the things, and we should make a way to bring them out of this crime and to make them as good citizens. So the deterrence is not the most, as regards other criminals, deterrent effect should be. The crime should, because these children do not know the consequence, really they do not know the consequence of their crimes. So the deterrence may not have the same effect as we do it in a criminal, dealing with the senior criminal. So I don't know.
Sir, what I meant was sensitization about the deterrences and sensitization about the fallouts or the effects of such crimes. First of all, not do it.
That is true. That is true. That there should be, people should be told this is a serious crime, and they should not fall prey to these things. That is, of course, there is.
There was recently a movie, very recently, just a month back, called Jhund, made by a very acclaimed Marathi filmmaker called Nagraj Manjule. Jhund was a unique film according in my memory, because it focused on, and it had the real characters picked up from the Jhuggi Jhopadi, from the slums, who were the protagonists and actors of this movie. But the man who transformed these young kids from the Jhuggi Jhopadi who were into this juvenile crime mindset, so much so that they also are seen as saying, let's commit a crime, we are juveniles, we will be out on bail in just a few months. There will be nothing much that will happen to us. They were all aware of it, but they were not aware of what else could follow. That is what the movie showed. It also showed how a person like Amitabh Bachchan, the protagonist of the movie, he as a coach of football, he took them out, somehow managed to make them interested in a game of football and diverted their energy into a positive thing to such an extent that they all turned out to be professional footballers in a few months' time. Now, these kind of initiatives, these kind of movies do play a very important role. And trust me, sir, I don't believe anything like this in my memory. I have seen wherein the real characters from the slums, kids of the age of say 5 to 25 were picked up, and they acted in the movie along with Amitabh Bachchan. A brilliant movie made on this kind of a subject. I think diversion of energy towards positivity, towards constructive issues is something, again, who do we leave it to? Do we leave it to the civil society? Madam, who do we leave it to?
Yes, we'll have to leave it to civil society and to respect their efforts. प्रॉब्लम ये है कि अब तो जो भी एनजीओ वगैरह की बात करो तो it's a little with a question mark, but there are many civil society organisms that are organizations that are working on these issues. Another factor which I forgot to mention is this school dropout thing. Nobody is looking at them. बच्चे को अगर आप फेल कर दोगे स्कूल में, कहाँ जाएगा? अड्डा पीटेगा, स्कूल के बाहर बैठेगा, अड्डा पीटने में औरों से मिलेगा, ड्रग्स लेगा. If you declare a person to be a failure, a child, a failure, the person becomes a loser for life and will take to other methods to prove that he is not a failure. We have to look at the entire system overall, because the fault is more with the adults rather than with the children. The child is a victim. Please remember this. Child is not the perpetrator. If there is domestic violence, the father must be made to understand कि देखो इसका असर इसी जनरेशन में नहीं है, मगर आगामी 7 पुश्तों में ये इसका असर आएगा. People earn money कि हमारे 7 पुश्त घर बैठ करके खाएंगे, तो why don't they earn goodwill? I mean, why is all this taken to be चलो ठीक है? If child sexual abuse is happening within families, it is acceptable. The only time the POXO Act is used is when a young boy and girl, they elope. That is the only time POXO becomes an issue. Otherwise, if there is sexual abuse in the house, whether by anybody in the house, father, grandfather,
Ma'am,
chacha, mana, it is all acceptable.
Just a small intervention, madam, because I think you've spoken on this line at detail in the first half of the show. We can understand all these things happening and affecting people at the lower strata level, at the lowest strata level.
No. Amit, I'll beg to differ.
No, I have not completed, ma'am.
The
I'm
poor
saying we can
people, just listen to me. Poor people have no privacy. You can walk into their homes. These cases come out in the open. This is also happening in the houses of very rich people, yet it is all covered up. Dekho, till the courts stepped in, nobody was taking action against the juveniles who were doing rash driving and killing people. It is because of the courts
Madam, yesterday
that parents were made responsible for
yesterday,
ensuring, safety on roads.
It is, ma'am, it is also not only about, what you're saying is right. I have absolutely no two opinions on this. Unequivocally, I do accept, and everybody who's sane would accept that criminal intent it's a choice. It's not a design. It doesn't happen automatically. It's a choice which is exercised irrespective of the background, and the external environment just stimulates it. We understand it. Yesterday I met a few youngsters from very well-to-do families. I was just trying to talk to them on issues here and there, and I realized, despite probably somebody never had any unpleasant incident like being abused or something like that, but a statement which lingers in my mind from one of the youngsters from a very rich and well-to-do family is, see, the world works in a very, very criminal manner. Everybody is cheating everybody else. Everybody is a thug. So what's the problem? I mean, let's not try to change the system. So this is the mindset which the youngster and the adult and the adolescent is having, who has had no previous incidents of abuse and who has had the best education, who has the best car. What do we do about it?
देखो ऐसा है ना, I'm not saying it is only CSA which is causing all these problems. It is the home atmosphere, dysfunctionalities in the home. A child learns by example. A child, तुम चाहे जितना उसको सिखा दो, पढ़ा दो, रामायण गीता जो भी पढ़ा दो, but if you are doing something wrong, the child will learn by your example. So we have to tell families.
Exactly, that is what I thought. It's the father's fault, not
the
child's.
Father, nahi, it is the parents.
Yeah,
I mean, it is both. Generally, women do not have so much control over what's happening in their homes, but certainly grandmothers, grandfathers.
Madam, yes, accepted.
Older people.
Justice Saab, your views on the Nirbhaya incident, because you were the chairman of the NHRC.
Nirbhaya, the changes, law changes after the Nirbhaya, I do not fully agree with all the amendments that are carried out in the Indian Penal Code. But nevertheless, it's all right. So
but legally speaking, what happens if somebody is prosecuted for a crime committed as a juvenile when he is an adult? What is the legal stand on that situation?
No, then there should be, whether he is an adult or a juvenile, it will be decided by the court, going by the birth
No,
certificate
somebody
or
is an
other.
adult. So the question is, somebody is an adult, his crime as a juvenile gets surfaced, and then he is prosecuted for the crime he committed as a juvenile.
वो तो
Despite-
छोड़ दिया जाएगा.
उस वक्त आप
Tried
what will
as a
be the-
juvenile.
I like to hear the former Chief Justice of India.
He will be, as a juvenile, yeah, when the crime was, he is growing. So he will be tried as a juvenile criminal.
That is in the act,
Irrespective,
Amit.
irrespective of no remorse or recourse or any kind of action taken by him post becoming an adult to try and regretfully reverse the damage he has done to the aggrieved party.
They are all not very relevant things.
See, we are discussing on how a child in conflict with law is to be treated. Now you posed a question which is very clearly mentioned in the JJ Act. If a person has committed a crime or caught, while he did the crime when he was a juvenile, the law is very clear on it. He will be tried as if he is a juvenile. Abhi recently a case bhi aaya tha. I think the courts took this view and they tried him like a juvenile because जब उसने crime किया था, then उसका वही स्थिति है.
Ma'am, your suggestions to the government of India in case, because you handle as chairperson NCPCR, you understand the ornamental suggestions or bureaucratic suggestions नहीं, practically क्या हम करें school level में जहाँ से we can see immediately changes happening in 1 year's time. We have funds being created, lying unused, idle. All this will keep going on for the next 25 years.
Amit, we have to create more awareness. The children are vulnerable. They need to be looked after. We should not, this is something which has to be done. It is not,
corporate social responsibility की हम बात करते हैं. The entire corporate world is making a mess of the society by bloody just bombarding us with all sensuous and dirty and vulgar things as in the name of advertisement on the social media. On the entire world is moving on social media. What do we do to this?
This you've moved into a different realm about control of the digital media, which is a problem worldwide.
That's
about
a different
the content,
area.
but that's an altogether different area belonging to a separate, I would say, ministry.
That is the most important
they
thing.
have also put digital media under control of self-regulation. Now that's another thing altogether. But while we are talking of children, we have to think about
just
children.
A few days back, I was sitting with
I'll tell you about some very positive things that were done during my period and which is still continuing. One was that we created these child-friendly police stations for better implementation and understanding of child problems. So that police, being the first port of call, they know that children are different from adults. I mean, everybody knows that, but the way of handling a child, no policeman has ever been told how you handle a child. Then again, we created these child-friendly railway stations, because a lot of runaway children are on trains, trains are very user-friendly. You don't, and often these children, again, if you can catch hold of these children, send them back home or counsel them or send them to proper homes and all in case they have some other problems, if they are children in need of care and protection, then that was another big step that was taken. And I'm happy to say that both the police people, police personnel and the railway personnel, they were very, very cooperative and very open to changing their methods, because we do need, a different set of skills to handle children. Teachers also have been sensitized on what to do if a child confines them that they are having problems in the house. These again, a little away from their routine duties. And, and children and teachers need to be trained on how to deal with such situations. So the change is happening, but it will take time. Country is very large, but at least now we are talking about this issue, which is such an important thing. Earlier on, I would say when I took over, nobody was even discussing these issues. At least now I find there is more dialogue. There is better communication and understanding of these issues. The only issue which I was not able to tackle was this dropout issue. I'm strictly of this view that children should not be failed in classes. They should not be told that they are failures. If given a chance, another year of retaining them in school or creating some kind of connectivity with the school will go a long way in preventing such children into falling into crime.
Justice Saab, your final comments on the subject of juveniles?
The dropout rate was to some extent 68%. I still remember when dealing with the midday meal schemes, many of the states were reluctant to give a midday meal to children. And they said the dropout rate is huge. The first standard 100 students are about the third or fourth standard. There's 68, only 30 students are there. All the 65% students are drop out. They go for various other jobs. The only thing to keep them in the schools is to give midday meals. They let them be given midday meals. That is why we strongly, myself and Justice Kewal strongly recommended all states should compulsorily give midday meals in all educational institutions.
It's very important.
The dropout rates was drastically reduced by that. Once they are out of schools, they are prone to do all sorts of crimes.
All kinds of things they get into.
Yes, there is no control, there is no guidance, there is nobody to look after them. So that is a very, very sad situation. But now the country is progressing. I think if this regular school systems are happening, then we would be able to control the juvenile crimes to some extent, so that the constant help of the NGOs, various social service organizations, various institutions, and the most important, the parents, they should look after them. And the police also should have a welfare type of group to help the children and to trace out the missing children. And if anything is wrong with the children, how to bring back to the regular track. That is also important. This is a very, not a small subject. It is a huge problem, because the whole society depends on it is concerned with our future of the next generation. So we shall not miss any opportunity to regulate them, improve them. Educationally, their skills should be developed. There are a lot of children, wonderful sports skills, wonderful art skills. There should be area where there should be dance, painting, the sports. All these talents should be. There should be opportunities in the schools, and all they improve these talents. Then only they may not bother about these crimes. They will only bother about these type of things. There should be such a guidance. That alone is, I feel, the better the social atmosphere will create.
So you will be happy to know that through NCPCR, we were able to get Aadhaar cards made of so many children in institutions. And we were able to restore these children to their homes, thousands of them. Because all said and done, a home is better than an institution for bringing up a child. So, as you said, it's like an ocean, the entire thing. You would need a separate ministry for it.
Any final suggestions to the government of the day for making India a safer place for all of us, because the kind of heinous crimes that we keep hearing are by the juveniles is shocking. It's something which we
Because they are taking up media space. देखो हमने कहा इतनी बड़ी पॉपुलेशन में लाख सवा लाख बच्चे होते हैं जो पकड़े जाते हैं. It is not such a huge figure as it is. Yes, certain children get into heinous crimes, but it is not that every child which has been caught will end up doing heinous crimes if we are able to take proper steps timely. I would suggest that there should be a separate ministry for children, because the voices of children get lost amongst the voices of women, if there is a separate ministry, like they created the disability ministry out of social justice, the work of the disabled people became better. I mean, better schemes were brought in, there was more focus, and a lot of things started happening. Same thing if we have a
I
separate...
think we'll close it on this note. Madam, what a fantastic suggestion. I personally and totally second this and endorse this opinion. Probably one of the suggestions that will go out of this particular beautiful show, wherein people of your stature of justice, former Justice, Chief Justice of India, K.G. Balakrishnan's stature, have given time to the nation, not to me, not to the forum. I look forward to more interactions on subjects of relevance and equal importance, which will create a much more beautiful country, because we have the strength to become the global #1 superpower. Thank you. Jai Hind. Namaskar.
Namaste. Thank you so much. Namaste.